This is the most significant law our nation has ever passed to help millions of veterans who are exposed to toxic substances during their military services. You know, Secretary McDonough can tell you, I was going to get this done come hell or high water.
Today, the bill expanding health care for millions of veterans exposed to toxic burn pits officially became law. President Biden signed the Pact Act, surrounded by veterans' families, lawmakers, as well as comedian Jon Stewart. It's just one accomplishment in what may be the best week of Joe Biden's presidency so far. Yesterday, he signed the CHIPS and Science Act, which will boost domestic manufacturing of high-tech computer chips. And on Friday, the House is expected to vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. It includes the largest investment in climate the country has ever seen, a $35 price cap on insulin for many Medicare users, as well as a 15% minimum tax on large corporations. All initiatives Democrats have been trying to get done for decades. It passed the Senate Sunday with, spoiler alert, no help from Republicans. Shocker. More good news. Gas prices fell for the 56th straight day. The national average now dipping below $4 a gallon. Yes, gas is now cheaper than coffee. And Biden did all of this while more than 50% of Americans still claim they don't think he's doing a good job. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Raul Ruiz, a member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and Don Calloway, Democratic strategist and founder of the National Voter Protection Fund. Congressman, I will start with you. The Pact Act is huge. Just tell me a little bit about how important that is to you as a member of the Veterans Committee and even specific members of your community whose lives are going to be altered and saved by the passage of this legislation.
Jason, I started fighting this fight 5 years ago when a local constituent by the name of Jennifer Kepner died. She was 39 years old. She was stationed in Balad Air Force Base, where Beau Biden was stationed. She died of pancreatic cancer. She told me it was due to her burn pits, and she made me promise to lead this fight. Since then, we've been fighting tooth and nail to get the recognition, the attention, and the momentum that culminated in today to fulfill the promise I made to her and to all the other veterans. There were widows today that were crying because they were finally recognized, and there were veterans on oxygen that were barely able to breathe walking to this event, telling me in tears that they now have hope that if they die, their families will be taken care of. Look, this is an historic accomplishment by President Biden with the most expansive access to health care for veterans in generations. Over 3.5 million veterans and their families will be positively impacted. Their pain and suffering will be relieved because they will have access to health care based on my Jennifer Kepner's HOPE Act that was included. And if they die, their widows and families will be able to be cared for because they'll receive their benefits based on my bill, the presumptive benefits for warfighters exposed to burn pits and other Toxins Act. This bill will save countless of lives.
And Congressman, I want to add to this because I don't think a lot of people realize the large percentage of men and women who have served this country overseas, who come back sick and are still financially strapped by their medical bills, whose families are still bankrupted by their medical bills. You know, talk a little bit about what the economic impact of this kind of policy will be on those families all across the country that have been burdened after having given up everything they could for our country.
Well, you know, right before this law, over 70% of claims that veterans applied for their benefits, the proof was on them to show that their illness was due to their exposure to burn pits. 70% of those claims were denied. That means that they had to scramble for money, scramble the system to find health care, even if they were uninsured or underinsured, and that would mean financial catastrophe. Now, this bill is a law of the land. They won't have to go very far because the VA will have to take care of their illnesses and give them the benefits that they've earned and that they deserve.
You know, I have to say this. We have so many, we've popularized it from The Rock to the recent movie Ambulance, this movie coming out with John Boyega. We have literally made Hollywood films about people who have served in the military, who got taken advantage of, who didn't get their just due, who commit crimes. We finally have seen this president do something that'll help those kinds of people. Maybe we won't have to hear about those stories in Hollywood anymore. Don, I want to start with you. This is what's interesting to me. I, and many of us, I've been quite critical of President Biden on many different areas, but the guy is having a fantastic last 2 weeks. I don't know if he's suddenly Mike Jones, Dark Brandon, whatever it is, but it seems like something has turned around these last couple of weeks. What do you think strategically may have been happening in Washington with the president, or is it just great timing that all of these policies and all these bills got signed around now?
You know, none of this stuff happens overnight. Ideas are germinated at the beginning of an administration. They are cycled through several different staffers, through different committees, through different folks who have jurisdiction to write these things. And hopefully some of those seeds come to root at the right time. It's coming together at a very good time for Joe Biden, because let's all be clear about what this is. We are going into the midterms, and we're going into the midterms with some substantial legislative wins, but also a former president who's on the brink of a perp walk. So it's a great week for not only Joe Biden, but it's a great week to show that representative democracy can still get things done. I just want to say really quickly, one quick word on the Veterans Health Care bill. The toxins infecting our warriors is nothing new. This is a generational plague that we have visited upon those who serve. You hear about people coming back from World War II and Korea with bad breath. We certainly are well aware of Agent Orange in the Vietnam generation and the burn pits of the Iraq-Afghanistan generation. If we do nothing else, then may our legislation be instructive for the future. Unfortunately, there will be future conflicts, but we can move faster and more humanely to address those chronic illnesses that our soldiers unfortunately will likely come back from in future conflicts. We can address them at the beginning. We won't have to have celebrities and famous advocates getting behind their cause, because we can hopefully take what Congressman Ruiz and his colleagues have done today and use that as a blueprint for taking care of our soldiers in the future. So it's extremely important what they've gotten done.
Don, very quickly, we're coming up on a break. You have great jobs numbers. Inflation was down to zero. Gas prices have been going down. Which of these things do you think Democrats should be crowing about the most? Which of these things should they be putting in every single campaign commercial for the next 35 days to remind America of what they've been able to do while they were governing and the other side was trying to overthrow the country?
All of that plus the element you left out, which is for the first time you can negotiate prescription drug prices as a recipient of Medicare. That is the biggest thing that's going to make a direct impact on everybody's kitchen table, regardless of party, race, geography as some may pronounce, or otherwise. That's the biggest piece, and that can change the tide of the midterms.
Congressman Raul Ruiz and Don Callaway, thank you so much for some good news. I love hearing good news. It's out of character. I love this stuff.